Let that beautiful beat bang. Peace. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn, as I'm referred to at this current moment. Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. Hope you guys had a great Monday, beginning of your week. Brick as hell out here in New York. I mean, in New Jersey, New York, tri-state area, whatever have you. Probably the whole East. I was watching the football games yesterday, and it seemed like everywhere, over the weekend at least, everybody was freezing at the stadiums. But I'm glad you guys are here with me. I wanted to get into a little bit of the current news that's happening now regarding my favorite issue, the border, the upcoming selection of a new president. I can't use the proper word because the YouTube algorithms get angry at you if you do. But news regarding that, some important stuff happening tomorrow with the New Hampshire primary, where they decide who's going to be the Republican pick in the state of New Hampshire. And that's happening tomorrow, in addition to the fact that Trump's dealing with the defamation lawsuit here in the state of New York, city of New York, against being leveled against them by a lady named E. Jean Carroll. So Trump got that going on. He was in court regarding that just today. And I think they were trying to force him to go to court tomorrow, which lines up against his contending in the New Hampshire primary tomorrow as well. So he would have had to have been campaigning or whatnot, and then come back into New York tomorrow to do this crusty ass case. But I think that was postponed. It was set to be tomorrow, where he was going to have to resume his court case tomorrow. But and they were trying to make it to where he would have to resume his court case tomorrow, which would pretty much stop him from being at New Hampshire, where he wants to be campaigning, I'm sure. But I'll read through that article when I get to it. The first issue I want to discuss is some of the migrant stuff that's happening in New York, or more up-to-date stuff, if you will. In terms of that, like the latest news, if you guys haven't heard, there was a Supreme Court ruling against the state of Texas putting up their own border wire, or like concertina wire or barbed wire, whatever you want to call it. The state of Texas took it upon themselves to, at one of the crossing points, I think it's called Eagle Park, in addition to that park, I think they also used some land that was privately owned. Got permission from the person that owned that private land to put up some barbed wire as a deterrent to migrants that were coming over into the border, that are coming from the border, in a way to deter them at a pivotal cross point in Texas, in the state of Texas. This area that is in question, I think it's 10 acres total. So you could probably assume that the border crossing area is probably no bigger than 2 acres in width, if I had to guess. And the state of Texas in addition to employing the method of shipping out people from the border near Texas deeper into the country in places like New York City, like Chicago, like Martha's Vineyard, whatever have you, like since this whole migrant bum rush that we've experienced here in the last year or two has really got into motion. Texas used the tact of shipping off migrants to other states. Now, I'm not in agreement with that, but I understand that. I understand it from a perspective of somebody from Texas or who's governing Texas. And I don't like the governor of Texas. I think he's not a good person. I think he's a swamp creature. I think he's a rhino. Whatever adjective you want to put, he's just not there for me. Didn't like him from jump. And he's kind of like solidified his dislike as far as from me in the past couple years. And no, it's not just the bus thing. Even though, again, I'm adamantly opposed of them sending bus loads of migrants deeper into the country. But no, it's not that. Having said that, although I don't like him as a politician, I agree with the choice. If the choice, again, were between keeping those migrants within his own state or sending them to another state, particularly a state like New York or Illinois, Chicago, in which cities within those states, like New York City and Chicago, said that they were places that welcomed migrants, that they wanted migrants, that they consider themselves, I always forget the term, like right when I got to say it, a sanctuary city. Damn it. They consider themselves sanctuary cities, meaning that they would never turn away any migrant and that they welcome them with arms wide open in those respective cities of New York and Chicago. But if it's a choice of keeping them in my own state, Texas, or sending them to another state, of course I'm going to send them to another state. But now fast forward years later, because I mean, that's been happening since 2021, probably. Now, years later in 2023, Texas finally got 2024. We're in 2024. Damn it. But Texas finally got up off their hands and chose to put up a measure of border security in the sense of putting up barbed wire where people that would cross the Rio Grande from Mexico into Texas would encounter on the Texas side, and then they would probably say, listen, I'm not going to make it into the country with all this barbed wire here, or I'm going to have to go somewhere else to make this crossing. The state of Texas was also enforcing arrest for illegal border crossers. I'm not sure how deep they went into that. I'm pretty sure it's not very much in terms of number of arrests that were made by the state of Texas. Because the state of Texas, to me, like with as far as what the governors put in place in Texas, Abbott, he's basically virtue signaling. I don't like the term it's more of a new school term, but he's virtue signaling. He's basically saying, listen, like, I'm not going to have him here, so I'll send them up to you guys up there. Rather than saying, listen, I'm going to put my army, the National Guard, and put them on the border, and nobody's coming up in here. If any agencies try to come in here, they don't have jurisdiction above my jurisdiction in terms of my state, Texas. So, and I have total jurisdiction of my National Guardsmen. So I'm going to place them at the border, and anybody who tries to come in, they get arrested or detained. Anybody who tries to stop them, I'll arrest them too, which he has the right to do. No, he chose to go an opposite route, pay for buses, supposedly. I'm not sure if they're paying for the state of Texas is paying for the buses themselves. I'd be pissed off if I were a resident of the state of Texas and my tax money was going to pay for buses. But he chose to instead use the route of shipping people off elsewhere rather than it is a lot of work. it is it's going to come with a lot of friction, but he should have said, listen, I'm putting my nuts down and nobody's coming into the state by that border while I'm the governor. But nevertheless, the border barbed wire that was put in place is now by Supreme Court order, or Supreme Court took a vote on it today. And I'll read you guys the article, and this is from, I believe it's an AP article. No, it's a Microsoft. Yeah, no, it's an Associated Press article. So you guys know it's from a respected news source or established news source. There's no news source you should trust. I usually try to pull news sources from more liberal sources so that you got so anybody who's reading could probably not have the opportunity to wield that stupid talking point against me. The talking point of, well, you're reading that from Fox News or you're reading that from the New York Post. Those are more conservative papers. No, I mean, if I don't have to, if I can, I try not to. Even though a lot of these newspapers, and I'll be the first to tell you, a lot of liberal publications, in addition to conservative publications, try to steer you or gaslight you. No surprise there. But let me read the article. The heading is, Supreme Court allows federal agents to cut razor wire Texas installed on U.S.-Mexico border. Washington. A divided Supreme Court on Monday allowed Border Patrol agents to resume cutting for now razor wire that Texas installed along a stretch of the U.S.-Mexico border that is at the center of an escalating standoff between the Biden admin and the state over immigration enforcement. The 5-4 vote clears the way for Border Patrol agents to cut or clear out concertina wire that Texas has put along the banks of the Rio Grande to deter migrants from entering the U.S. illegally. Some migrants have been injured by the sharp wire, and the Justice Department has argued that the barrier impedes the U.S. government's ability to patrol the border, including coming to the aid of migrants in need of help. A few things to take apart, to unpack. I hate saying that word with that article there in that first vote. If you guys don't know, right now the conservatives hold a majority at the Supreme Court. I'm not sure what that ratio is, whether it's 6-3 or 5-4, but the vote today was 5-4 for the opposing of Texas putting up their own barbed wire. But that goes to show you too. I mean, like, never in the case of liberal politics, in politics today, will there ever be an instance at almost any level? You go to the local level, you could go to the federal level, you go to any court. The tact of liberal policymakers, politicians, voters, anybody who is trying to advance the liberal cause nowadays, for the most part, they just want to get a victory no matter how they get the victory. You know, like, you don't see many liberals in Congress not vote with their party, like, or break ranks and go and vote with the conservatives, unless it's like to make a new war or money for war or things that don't benefit anybody. Liberals usually vote 100% in one direction. Before, when I was a kid and I first started learning about politics, I always knew that the Democrats and liberals were always anti-war. Now it seems like the liberals are 100% for war. This is just a current example. When it comes to the Ukrainians, when it comes to Israel at first, but now I think that they're starting to pump the brakes on that because it's not popular with the shit libs, which I agree. I mean, I'm agreeing with them on that aspect. But see, in the Supreme Court, though, I mean, if it would have been a liberal cause that would have came up, there's no way a liberal Supreme Court judge would have broke ranks and voted with the conservatives. But I don't know what that ratio is right now. Again, whether that's 6 conservative judges and 3 liberal judges at the Supreme Court as it currently stands. I would look it up, but this computer is jacked up. But somebody had to defect in the Supreme Court. Somebody had to vote against Texas in this case. One of these Supreme Court judges voted against this measure, which is more of a conservative measure. But let me continue with the article. Oh, one other thing I wanted to unpack with this article. Oh yeah, it says some migrants have been injured by the sharp wire, and the Justice Department that argue that the barrier impedes U.S. government ability to patrol the border, including coming to the aid of migrants in need of help. Well, migrants that are in need of help in this case should remain in Mexico and receive that help. If you're going through it and then you jump into a body of water in the winter, when all you see on the other side is barbed wire and you get injured in that process, that's on you. I mean, fucking stay in that water for all I give a shit, honestly. You know, it may sound curt, but these are curt times. But you know, and that like, would anybody feel sorry for some dude the day after January 5th, a couple of years ago, when they were storming the Capitol? If they would have went into an area with barbed wire and injured themselves, would anybody bitch and say, "Oh, well, you know, these people were hurt in that process"? No, of course not. It's ridiculous. You know what you're coming for. I mean, like, there's things to keep you out of the country, and you get injured by one of those things. That's, I mean, should anybody feel bad for you? But they just try to, you know, the people within this article try to make it seem like, you know, like motherfuckers are killing border crossers by putting up ways to keep them out. Let me continue. None of the justices provided any explanation for their vote. The one-page order is a victory for the Biden administration, while the lawsuit over the wire continues. Texas Governor Abbott had authorized the wire, one of a series of aggressive measures the three-term Republican has taken on the border in the name of curbing illegal crossings from Mexico. His spokesman said the absence of the razor wire and other deterrents encourage migrants to risk unsafe crossings and makes the job of Texas Border Patrol personnel more difficult. The case is ongoing, and Governor Abbott will continue to fighting to defend Texas's property and constitutional authority to secure the border, Abbott spokesman Andrew Mahalaris said. A spokesman for the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol did not immediately return a message seeking comment Monday. A federal court of appeals court last month had forced federal agents to stop cutting the Concertina wire. The Concertina wire stretches for roughly 30 miles, 48 kilometers near the border city of Eagle Pass, where earlier this month, Texas Military Department seized control of a city-owned park and began denying access to Border Patrol agents. Eagle Park has become one of the busiest spots of the southern U.S. border for migrants illegally crossing from Mexico. Abbott has said Texas won't allow Border Patrol agents into Shelby Park anymore, having expressed further frustration over what he says are migrants illegally entering through Eagle Pass and then federal agents loading them onto buses. Trying to see if there's anything. I'll just read the whole article. Screw it. Just make sure nobody's commented. Abbott has also authorized installing floating barriers in the Rio Grande near Eagle Pass and allowed troopers to arrest, jail thousands of migrants on trespassing charges. The administration is also alleging those actions in federal court. In court papers, the administration said the wire impedes Border Patrol agents from reaching migrants as they cross the river, and that in any case, federal immigration law trumps Texas' own efforts to stem the flow of immigrants into the country. Texas officials have argued that the federal agents cut the wire to help groups illegally through the river before taking them in for processing. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, Ketanji Brown Jackson Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor sided with the administration. Justices Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Clarence Thomas voted with Texas. I didn't see that list earlier. So the justices that defected were John Roberts, that's to be expected. He's a sellout. Amy Coney Barrett, don't know. Ketanji Brown Jackson, she's a wash, bum. Elena Kagan, don't know. Sonia Sotomayor, bum. Yeah, those are the 5 right there. So, I mean, like, it goes to show, I mean, and then this article kind of like words things in a Weasley fashion. Like they say, come on, Silver, get out of here. My cat's coming to bug me. It says in court papers, the administration said the wire impedes Border Patrol agents, which are federal agents, from reaching the migrants as they cross the river, and that in any case, look at this shit, immigration law trumps Texas's own efforts to stem the flow of immigrants into the country. What fucking immigration law? Like, what immigration law do we have in place at a federal level that's stemming the flow of migrants anywhere? Like, I mean, like, what are the numbers on that? Like, I mean, that's more gaslighting bullshit. We don't have an immigration problem. We have, like that, like it's just a weasel wordery that we have like nowadays. I mean, and it only comes for the most part from the liberal left. The liberal left loves dealing with things in a weaselly fashion, like this article. In any case, federal law trumps Texas' own effort to stem the flow of immigration. Like, what are you doing to stop immigration right now at a federal level? They're basically just processing dudes. Like the Border Patrol isn't stopping anybody from doing anything. They're processing dudes. They're making sandwiches for dudes who want to come in, and they're assisting them on the way. Like, I mean, seemingly the game hasn't stopped. I haven't seen anything in the border that looks like it's stopping anybody from coming into the country at all, with the exception of this measly effort done by Texas, and that ain't shit. So it just goes to show you, I mean, and the more time elapses with all this stupidity that's happening, the more I think that this was a plan from Jump Street. What the plan was, I'm not sure. Some people say that this plan was to try to flip places like Texas, states that are typically red, into becoming blue states. States like Arizona, which were borderline red, now they're supposedly blue. I don't believe that for a second. I think a lot of that is some rogue apparatuses, if you will, I don't know what to call it, that are flipping these states all of a sudden. But some people think that when you put a new migrant class into the country, they automatically become the poorest class in that country, which is usually true, and that those poor people eventually will vote liberal for a couple of generations down the line. So in a sense, I mean, like, some people think that liberals' reasoning behind wanting this is in an effort to gain more votes. I think that's a layman argument. I don't think that's what's happening here, because this seems to be a plan that's been in place for quite a while. Once they got it popping, and Abbott played a role in this too, in how this all played out, because from jump, I mean, if Abbott noticed that there was a large incursion of people from Southern America and Mexico and all these other countries that were coming into his state, from day one, he should have, like, I mean, who would say, like, oh, well, I'm gonna catch these robbers that are coming into my house and not sure what to do with them. I know they're coming in, but once they do get in, I'm just gonna bring them elsewhere. Like, no, like you don't want like that robber to come in at all. Like, you don't like put him next door or some shit. But I don't think, knowing what I know now and my theory that's kind of solidified in my head, in the sense that this has been a plan that's kind of been in place for a long time, I don't think in my heart of hearts that Governor Abbott didn't have the plan of shipping migrants in to other places in place before too. And yes, I think that the plan to bring a bunch of migrants in, whether it be whether you conclude that that's for votes, which I don't think that is just for votes. I think that's maybe a secondary reward for liberals, but I don't think it was just for votes. I think that I don't know. I don't want to put my theory out there. I don't want to get this channel kiboshed, but these are all men, 100% dudes that are coming in for the most part. I mean, it's got to be above 90% of men that are coming in. From Jump Street, you're telling these guys that are coming in that as soon as you come in here, you're an oppressed class of people. And we're on this woke trip for the past like 7 years, maybe. And automatically, since you're the new class of oppressed people, forget that black people been oppressed for a bunch of many years, but now you're more oppressed than black people. So let's forget about black people for a little while, and you'll reap the benefits of any sympathy that we have for the newest oppressed class. And we'll take away from people in urban black neighborhoods and Spanish neighborhoods that were already here in America. We'll take from their plate and put it onto yours. Like, we'll take from their neighborhoods and move you in there, like it's happening in New York City and Chicago. So, and and this is the policy that's in place with I think they call it DEI. I know it's equity inclusion. Yeah, I think it's DEI. I forgot what the D stood for, but where the policy that's in place now is that these people are people who are need to be cared for. I mean, which technically they do, but they should be cared for in their own fucking country. Get the fuck out of here. But the policy is now in place where if you're an oppressed class of people, like automatically, like, or if you're in a city in which there's large groups of oppressed people, like in New York and Chicago, in the last couple of years, they've been laxing as far as enforcing laws. And that to me was a plan in itself, like to try to hire a lot of these district attorneys in cities like Atlanta, in cities like New York, in cities like Los Angeles. And this can't be debated. I mean, this is stuff that's coming out in the open now, that these races for district attorney judges were financed. And this was happening in recent history, where big money was coming in and financing a lot of these races. Once a lot of these people got in place around the same time in 2018, 2020, 2022, they took a hands-off approach. Judges stopped sentencing people for quality of life crimes and worse. I mean, for legit crimes. Like, there's a lady in my neighborhood that got raped. I believe she got, I didn't mean to use that word. That got violated by, I'll actually pull up the story now. But she got violated by two individuals that broke into her house. And she wasn't young either. She was, I think 49, 50. But she got raped by two individuals. One of them was an Arabic dude. I think he's like 22 years old. And they both got caught days later. They actually raped her at knife point. One of them raped her and the other one stood watch. But they raped her at knife point. The guy who actually raped her, the Arabic dude, they had to let him out on a technicality. Like, they said that they didn't. I forgot what it was. Like, but this happened like right after New Year's or right before New Year's, and the dude, this happened on Christmas. My bad. I could read the story to you right now. I'll actually read both parts, and I'm saying this too because this is my neighborhood and this is the approach that the district attorney here in New York has taken, in addition to other places, other cities, if you will, in the country. But this is the article here. NYC woman assaulted, raped after two men break into her home in horrific invasion. Now, there's two parts to this story, so I'm going to read just the first part. A Brooklyn woman was raped by a stranger who broke into her home over the weekend, police said Monday. The brute and an accomplice busted into the Sunset Park, my hood, home around 6 p.m. Saturday and assaulted the 49-year-old woman, with one of the men raping her before both ran off. Now, look, too, that's at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's not that late. The victim was rushed to a local hospital where she was listed in stable condition. Surveillance photos of the two intruders released by the NYPD show one wearing a hoodie with light colored pants and the other with black pants, whatever. Both are described in their 30s and 5'9", whatever. That's these clowns right here. I think the one that got bagged is the one to the left. This dude looks more like a Latin cat. Who the hell knows? Now I'm gonna try to find the part 2 of this story now too, because homie did get bagged though. Yes, homie did get bagged. No, I post sunset. Oh, let me take this. Let me stop sharing the screen because I don't want to put the R word. But just using this as an example that hits close to home. Damn, where the hell is... Jeez, now I can't find the story and where they released this dude. But anyhow, it was released on some sort of technicality. They said that the charges weren't brought against him in time, but this happened in December 25th. And I know I had an argument with my wife when the other story came out as to like them releasing him. But this is the kind of shit that they get away with in New York City, in Chicago even. You know, like they let the worst of the worst right back into the city because of diversity. That's what DEI is: diversity, equity, and inclusion, if I remember correctly. So in the sake of DEI, you know, and like the fact that like these district attorneys were abusing people in the past, according to some, then nobody gets any charges wielded against them in New York City. In addition to the fact that we're also spilling in a new class of people who are affected negatively, so according to white liberal women mostly. We're bringing in a new class of people who are the newest bottom of the totem pole in the DEI, in the diversity, equity, inclusion race, who we also can't start processing and arresting for doing crimes, which they're doing in New York by the ton. You know, these new wave of crime that's happening, that's not reported, that's not processed, that's happening in the new capital of clown world, New York. And leave it to Texas and the Supreme Court and all these other people in terms of this case that happened today to sort of thwart the infusion of migrants from coming in. And they adjudicated on that in a matter of days. I mean, you get these people to slow rolling cases at the Supreme Court, at a state level, at the Supreme Court, at a federal level. But if it's to stop migrants, they came or if it's to allow the resumption of an easy path for migrants to come in, they adjudicated on the matter in just seems like in a weekend. But this migrant game ain't gonna stop. Trust me, things are gonna get more spicy this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you'll see news of that whole border wall coming down entirely. And just mass waves of immigrants coming through on the daily. And I'm glad this is happening now too. I mean, because Trump did put people onto game in this sense, if you will. There were some people that didn't think that there was any border issue. I mean, like I knew that there was a border issue because the border is so wide and expansive, large. So naturally, there's going to be issues. But I knew of a major issue in the beginning of this year when they started showing video and caravans coming. But it was always talked down. Now, I mean, if you go into any space, any room, any city, even in liberal circles, you can't say that we don't have a immigration problem. You can't say that we don't have a border crossing problem with a straight face because you'd look like an asshole. But one good thing that may come of this, in the sense that I think that a candidate like Trump, I'm not 100% like I'm not one of these people that doesn't think that Trump can't do wrong, not one bit. Trump is involved with a lot of slimy politicians, like every other politician. When you talk about Pence, his selections for all his cabinet positions, for the most part, they're all grimy people. So, I mean, is Trump perfect? No. But is Trump the bull in the china shop? Yes. And we need a bull in the china shop right now to rectify this border problem. The good thing that's come from this border problem, hear me out, is that had Trump built the wall in its entirety, because according to Trump, the wall was 90% built. I'll take him on his word for that. Say it was 50% built, and you want to go with that measure, fine. Had Trump built the wall 100% of the way, or even 90% of the way, and immigration would have flowed on as usual, and politics in this country would have flowed on as usual. At some point in the future, some arbitrary year in the future, whether that be 10, 20 years down the line, with politics playing out the way they were before Trump came into office, we were going into a slow grind of now we can't talk about certain topics without being censored. Now, if we're going to start compelling corporations to take you off of social media because of having bad things. We were going into a slow flow of that no matter what. Liberal sentiments were increasing across the board as is anyway. I mean, you want to attribute that to George Floyd, you want to attribute that to Trump, whatever have you was happening. The liberals were having a victory lap in a sense. No, conservatives are not having a victory lap at this current juncture, and Trump going into office doesn't give you an immediate victory either. Trump going into the office in 2024 and behaving like a bull in a china shop is going to give us the victory. Because had politics had gone on as is, where people can't taste a border invasion how it's happening now, where people couldn't see it in the flesh, Trump could have built the wall in the future and they would have brought it down. Like they would have brought it down with some sort of festival or some sort of fucking victory lap and made it seem like it's some grand unification moment. Oh, Mexican brothers and sisters, like across the, some corny ceremony would have been in place in the future. And we would have been going down the same path we're going now, no matter what. Trump coming in at 2016, which I wasn't even following Trump like that in 2017, 2016, even 2018. The guy who comes onto my show, my broski, my crimey, Born. He's kind of one that put me onto like the conservative perspective, and I ain't know Born from Adam. Besides, occasionally doing or reaching out to him because of boxing content and a recommendation, and I knew that he was in Connecticut, and I was in New York at that time, so I was like, I could talk to somebody that knows boxing, and I had him on my Facebook, and then he's giving these political takes, which seemingly endorsed Trump. And it kind of made me curious as to why this black dude who who was about his people was giving a sort of endorsement of Trump on social media. This is like 2019, 2018 era. And then I started reaching out to him, and like he's kind of like the one that put me on to Trump in a sense, because I wasn't involved politically like that. I'm not going to front on you guys. I wanted Obama to win in 2008. I was happy when Obama won. I didn't care who won in 2012. I didn't. I mean, I did lose some taste, some of my hope in Obama, because Obama was typical politician, warmonger, bombing, first to do drone bombing at the level that he was doing it. You know, typical. But so I was blind to politics in a sense. Like, I mean, I would keep my in tune with it, but for the most part, I would just, me keeping in tune with it back then was, all right, I listen to Fox and I listen to CNN. And maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. Now in 2024, I know Fox is full of shit and CNN is full of shit. Pretty much listen to nothing that they say. And both of them don't like Trump. CNN hates Trump. Fox tries everything they do not to endorse Trump or at any chance they get. And listen to neither one. I mean, like, and it pretty much turned off the TV for me in terms of news, with the exception of listening here and there and making fun of it. But it gave me a new perspective. And it also showed me that, listen, the only way that things will get rectified in this country, especially now, I didn't think that there was a big problem in 2019. I do think there's a humongous problem now. The only problem that I had in 2019 when it came to politics was that kids were, not politics, but an issue that I aligned with politically was that there were kids that were being subjected to really bad things in America, around the world. And any politician who combated that, in my eyes, was my guy. None of them really did. I mean, with the exception of Trump making a mention of it here and there, but no politician would run after it. And it was kind of like the one issue that I was waiting for any politician to really marry himself to. That would have been the only thing that would have got me politically like riled up or involved, if you will. And nobody ever did. So I used to keep my nose out of it. In spite of the fact that I was always paying attention to geopolitics, I was always paying attention to finance stuff. I still do. But the only hope that I've had politically, I mean, especially now, is Donald Trump. I don't have no plans on anybody rectifying anything now. No, I don't think that some conservative, winning the presidential election that's not Trump is going to rectify anything. Or I don't think a huge wave of conservatives at the House and in Senate is going to rectify anything. I think Trump is going to be the only chance at rectifying. Will Trump rectify everything? I don't know. I kind of can't tell you. I know he's going to come out with Taste of Blood, because this whole system tried to play him in a large sense. So he should come back on a bit of a revenge tour, which is going to make things interesting. He's also a little bit more politically in tune now. Like, before he came into politics and he was a nobody, had never been in politics for the most part. Now he knows what's what. He knows how DC works. He's been out of office for 4 years. The whole time they've been trying to stick it to him. So he should come in with guns blazing, and that excites me at the very least. A lot of people are saying that Trump, he's saying he's going to come in as a dictator. If he goes in as a dictator against the people who he considers his enemies, which I agree that they, like, the people that he considers his enemies for the most part are pretty scummy people, then by all means, go run with it. I mean, we've been dictated to in 2021 when your job was forcing you to drink some shit or take that tea that you didn't want to take. We've been dictated to on social media. Like, look, you can't talk about anything on social media without getting your shit kiboshed. In 2021, when the Hunter Biden laptop was put out there, it literally took like 2 days. One, the story was put out there by the New York Post. It was gone off the like social media in 1 day. By 1 day later, it was taboo on any bit of social media. You couldn't talk about it on YouTube. You couldn't talk about it on on Twitter. You couldn't talk about it on Instagram, TikTok, whatever have you. It was all like not allowed in a matter of 1 day. Now, years later, we know that Hunter Biden laptop story was true, but it helped liberals initially when the story came out, and they chose to on the spot make a decision of, we're not going to allow that story, and all of a sudden we're not allowed to talk about that. So I have some dork, pussy, fucking skinny asshole from God knows where, whether that be within government or whether that be in Silicon Valley, deciding like, listen, this is the subject you're not going to be allowed to talk about. And as far as government in Silicon Valley, now we know, based on the Twitter files, that Silicon Valley and the government were working hand in hand. So, I mean, so who are the dictators here? I mean, Trump hasn't shown me much of being a dictator besides the news telling me that he's an evil guy, or the media telling me that he's a dictator. I mean, like, I rather somebody who I'm going to be worried about becoming being a dictator, than somebody who you're telling me is just this grandpa loving figure. Joe Biden's this great dad. That's why his son hasn't been arrested or tried with these with all these cases that he has open, acting like a foreign agent when he's not registered as a foreign agent, taking what seems to be clear bribes. I rather my dictator, if I have to deal with one, me be ready for it and be on edge, than to have the media aligned with the dictator and telling me, no, the dictator is a really good guy. Ranting. But let me get into my next story. Let me drink some water. My ladies, like, what's up with the comments, bro? Nobody comments on my shit for the most part. Sorry. My old audience, which was largely part of the boxing community, has reprehensions in terms of commenting on my stuff, as if they've been ordered not to. Well, certain factions have been ordered not to show your boy any love, but we keep it flowing. Let me go into Trump's defamation case. If you guys don't know, Trump is being sued in the state of New York, or the city of New York, I don't know, regarding this lady, E. Jean Carroll, who looks like a corpse. Make sure I'm picking the right article. E. Jean Carroll, if you guys don't know, made a book in 2019 where she alleged that Trump raped her or some shit at a department store. Trump says that that's not true. And for Trump saying that that's not true, the state of New York co-signed or allowed this E. Jean Carroll woman to make a defamation case. And that's the basis of that case. If you guys don't know, I mean, like, there's nothing more to that E. Jean Carroll case besides it having some cool bullet points to it, i.e. Trump, took it there and like forcefully bedded this woman at a department store. I mean, it didn't seem like it hasn't happened. I mean, and if you look at this lady's social media since this happened, like this allegedly happened, there were a lot of times where she was liking a lot of stuff that was related to Donald Trump, which is, an attitude you wouldn't take had you been raped by somebody. But damn it, I didn't mean to use that word again. But let me go into this article. This is from USA Today, and it reads, Trump defamation trial delayed over sick juror. His possible testimony won't come before Wednesday. And this is actually a victory for Trump, because earlier today, this trial was supposed to go on in spite of the fact that one of the juries jurors was sick. But I'll read the USA Today article. Again, this is USA Today. I'm not looking for articles that support what I'm trying to say. In fact, I'd rather read articles that don't support what I'm trying to say. So I choose liberal articles like a USA Today. Article reads, E. Jean Carroll's defamation trial against Donald Trump was postponed on Monday due to a sick juror, and the judge has pushed the proceedings and Trump's possible testimony back to Wednesday. Whether the 2024 Republican frontrunner will take the stands remains to be seen. Polls opens Tuesday in New Hampshire in the New Hampshire primary as Trump's myriad of legal issues and the former president's steamroller campaign continue to collide. What? Hold on, let me read that again. Whether the 2024 Republican frontrunner will take the stand remains to be seen. Polls open Tuesday in New Hampshire in the New Hampshire primary as Trump's myriad legal issues and the former president's steamroller campaign continue to collide. Oh, I thought they meant that they were both falling off a cliff. But no, they're telling you the real thing about this is that these court cases in New York, in Washington, D.C., the Mar-a-Lago case, which is also a D.C. case, and in Georgia, all came out or all proceeded after Trump announced his candidacy for the 2024 presidency. So they're telling you quite openly in this article, as Trump's myriad legal issues and the former president's steamroller campaign continue to collide. That's the intention of these cases, in my estimation, is that they want these dates of court that you got to keep attending in the flesh collide with campaign dates or with pivotal election dates like tomorrow with the New Hampshire primary. I'm going to continue. News of the trial delay came as Judge Lewis Kaplan again denied a Team Trump request for a mistrial over Carroll's admission that she had deleted threatening messages she said she received from Trump supporters after publicly accusing him of rape in 2019. That motion is going to be denied. So basically, Trump said that this E. Jean Carroll lady admitted that she had deleted threatening messages that she got from Trump supporters after she accused him of that rape in 2019. But that's a reasonable request, though. I mean, like, you know, why wouldn't you keep those messages if you got them after you wrote a book and the wokey world and the anti-Trump, you know, evil Trump world or evil anti-Trump world was in full swing? I mean, wouldn't you want to keep a bunch of messages that you got from his ardent supporters threatening you? Wouldn't you want to keep that? Like, I mean, like, after you wrote a book about the individual, you could write a second book with those texts. Juror to be tested for COVID-19. Judge Kaplan told lawyers that for Trump and Carroll Monday morning that one juror wasn't feeling well and had been asked to get tested for COVID-19. Trump lawyer Alina Habba, who said she had been exposed to COVID-19 during a recent visit with her parents, also wasn't feeling well. Both she and Trump lawyer Michael Medallo have tested negative, she said. Carroll lawyer Roberta Kaplan. Geez, this judge is called Judge Kaplan, and this lady's lawyer is called Roberta Kaplan. I wonder if there's a relation there. That'd be nothing would surprise me nowadays either. But Carroll lawyer Roberta Claplin asked the judge to proceed with the trial Monday, but he granted Haber's request for a delay. The results of the jurors' test, that's a test for COVID-19, would help determine if the trial resumes Tuesday, the judge later said. Later on Monday, an update on the case docket stated the trial wouldn't restart until Wednesday. Haber had asked for arrangements to allow Trump to testify Wednesday, saying he will be tied up with the New Hampshire Republican primary Tuesday. He was planning to testify, she said. Trump did not attend the court Monday morning. So as it was, this judge or this trial was going to resume on Tuesday. See, the result of the jurors' test would help determine if the trial resumes Tuesday. So they were going to take it there. If things were left as is, like Trump would have been running a campaign on Super Tuesday or have a pivotal vote in the state of New Hampshire on Tuesday, in addition to having to contend in court on that same day. So, I mean, like, I'm not going to use the election funkiness, but this is funkiness at its core. I mean, like, you're stopping somebody from campaigning, from running a regular campaign over these real frivolous cases. The Georgia case, they ain't shit to it. Fannie Willis is getting a spot blown up left and right because of her screwing with the special prosecutor in that case. It already looks like it's falling apart. Not to say that it falling apart is a big victory, because they're just going to run another case for God knows what in Wisconsin or some other swing state, Arizona, California, so it's not like getting a victory in any of these cases or an outcome that a conservative would desire in any of these cases, and any real measure of victory. My man's fighting 4 cases right now, as is. Damn, these cats are fucking with the paper towel. Silver, leave that alone. These cats are rowdy, bro. Hold on, let me go grab that. No, I left a roll of tissue paper, and my stupid cat is tearing it apart as we speak. And I paid. Get the hell away from that right now. This little cat. She's lucky I love her. If you guys don't know, I mean, and you followed my channel in the past, I put a little video of a kitten on it's probably like 2 years ago. But I had found her in my garage, because there's a cat that I feed in my garage. Her name is Goldie, and she had 2 babies. And one of them, this was in February. It was mad cold, freezing. One of the babies didn't make it, but the other one was dying, and it was this cat, Silver. But now she's a little rowdy fucking bitch. She's cute. Go. But so that's Silver. That's my Silver update. But what the hell was I even talking about? So, like I said, oh yeah, in terms of the New York case, I forgot what Trump's other New York case with Alvin Bragg was entailed, but it's a bunch of BS. Same thing as Mar-a-Lago. That case with Mar-a-Lago, in terms of the secret confidential documents, Trump could have any document he wants. Like, if you're a president, there's nobody above you who could say, or an ex-president, there's nobody who could say, like, what documents you're allowed not to have. You're pretty much the person that authorizes other people to have documents. The president could carry around as much documents as they want from their, especially from their tenure as president. Presidents, even when they leave office, still have to refer to things from the time in which they were in office when they leave office. So, I mean, like, they're allowed to carry documents. They're the highest. They're the law of the land. you know, they're I'm not saying they're above prosecution. I mean, and it's pretty evident that Trump is being prosecuted at every end known to man, probably more than anybody in the country right now. But you know, right after it was found out that Trump was housing some documents, which we don't know what they are yet. There was a supposed tape of him showing a document, which he's not discussing in much detail. So you don't know what document he's showing the person on that tape. And that was released after the raid on Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. Now, what president do you know ever that got his house raided? Never. Nobody. But some, wise guy is going to tell you that's because Trump is the worst thing that ever happened and one of the most evil people. So he deserves to be raided. Fuck him. You know, that's what we got to contend with in a large sense. But if they would have found anything of any substance in that raid, Trump would have been in jail with the quickness. Trump's not in jail. Trump's fighting that case. If there was anything to that phone call that Trump had with Schellenberger, the Secretary of State for Georgia, he would have been in jail already. But there's nothing to it. In fact, you're seeing the case fall apart by the actions of Fani Willis. I'm starting to think that Fani Willis or Georgia prosecuted that rapper down there. I think NBA Youngboy, I don't know who the fuck all these rappers are. They could jump off a cliff for all I give a shit. Fuck rap. But, and fuck current rap especially. But fuck the old shit too. And I'm a big rap fan. But having said that, that case in Georgia with that rapper that got knocked out there, in which they used that rapper's lyrics as a precursor to his final sentencing or judgment, that might get thrown out the window too. But I have a feeling that case was put in place to go after Trump in a future sense. So, and I actually have proof of that in terms of the New York case. Look, I'm not talking shit to you guys, bro. You certified player ain't gonna steer you wrong. Look, just to show you, because I actually seen this shit right as I was looking up stuff in terms of this E. Jean Carroll case. And I'm going to read. The Adult Survivors Act is a New York state legislation enacted in May of 2022. So just a couple months ago, for the most part, a year and change, which enacted in May of 2022, which amends state law to allow alleged victims of sexual offenses for which the statute of limitations has lapsed to file civil suits for a 1-year period from November 24th of 2022 to November 24th of 2024. The act thus expands the ability of the plaintiffs to sue for sexual assault and unwanted sexual contact in the workplace. I'm sorry. Background and enactment. Before 2019, mind you, this lady wrote a book, 2019. A 3-year statute of limitations applied to civil suits for sexual misconduct in New York. In 2019, New York extended the statute of limitation for civil suits arising from such crimes against adults to 20 years, but this extension was not retroactive. In 2022, the ASA was enacted. The bill was proposed by State Senator Brad Hoylman and Assemblyman Linda Rosenthal. Let me click on these names too. Brad Hoylman, early life and childhood education. Hoylman Siegel was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and grew up in rural West Virginia. He was the youngest of 6 children. That's not what I want to hear. I like to look at these things for my curiosity, see what religion these guys are. And they're starting to take this stuff off the... Oh, yeah, personal life. Brad Madison Hoylman married David Ivan Siegel So he married another dude, a filmmaker at Congressional Belt Cinematora in Manhattan, New York City. They live with their two daughters, Sylvia and Lucy, in Greenwich Village. Hoyleman Siegel is Jewish. All right, so he's one of the people that signed on to that law, in addition to Assemblyman Linda Rosenthal. So let me see. Early life. Linda Rosenthal was born in 1957 to parents who fled the Nazis in the 1930s. Rosenthal earned a BA and degree in history from the University of Rochester. See, what kind of sticks in my craw is the fled from Nazis, but from where? Let me look at the early life. Career, personal life. Rosenthal resides in Upper West Side, Manhattan. Oh, that's quite an indicator there. A lot of people in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Although she shares a last name with former city council member Helen Rosenthal and represents the same area, they're not related. So let's see. I'm trying to see if I... Yeah, nothing as far as background, but could safely assume that if her parents fled from the Nazis in the 30s, well, you get the idea. All right, so it unanimously passed the Senate, passed the Assembly, that's the New York Assembly, on a 140-3 vote, and was signed into law by Governor Kathy Hochul, this beast. And you see, look, this is what I tell you about Democrats all voting one way. We have a lot of New York assemblymen that are Democrats. They swung this to a 140 margin. Now let's go to notable cases. Okay, so suits against private plaintiffs. By November 2022 of 2023, just before the close of the loopback period, wow, the number of suits in the New York State Supreme Court reached 1,397. On the day the law took effect, writer E. Jean Carroll filed the lawsuit against businessman and politician Donald Trump, the U.S. president, for defamation and battery. On May 9th, a jury in Manhattan federal court found that Trump had defamed and sexually abused Carroll, ordering Trump to pay her $5 million in damages. So it's funny that this was put into effect on November 24th as a 1-year look back period, and this E. Jean Carroll lady kind of jumped at the bit right on time. So this is just another case of lawfare. I mean, you could safely assume that this law was put in place for one individual, and that's Trump. In addition to the fact, I got to do a little bit more digging, and I'm not going to front on you guys. There's a guy that I listen to called Asir the Duke of Tears. I think he's the illest person on YouTube when he does make an appearance on YouTube speaking. I never met the man, but I pretty much love his work. And this is going back to probably pre-YouTube. This is going back to when I first saw a video of him speaking in downtown Fulton. I think it was in front of Cookies. Whatever side Beach Street on, there was a kid's store, and if I remember correctly, but I think he was speaking in front of Cookies, which is a kids' clothing store in downtown Fulton. But he's always been on point with his geopolitics and political discourse, and he put the theory out there regarding that rapper from Georgia who was arrested. I think it was on murder charges, in part due to his lyrics. Not that he was arrested for his lyrics, but maybe something into the effect that his lyrics were one of the driving forces behind him being arrested. If anybody knows the name of the rapper that was arrested in Georgia, I think it was, I don't want to say NBA Youngboy. I don't know any of these rappers' names, and they all suck, and their names all sound similar. And maybe it was like Young some shit. I don't know, but supposedly in that case too, with whatever rapper that was, there was a crew of people that were contending against him, that rapper, like in the rap game, like his rivals, and she supposedly had slept with one of the hitters of the rivals crew of that rapper in Georgia. I think his name was Big Nut, the guy from the rival crew. Let me see. I'm just trying to look up, like, because I'm gonna. Oh, look, I actually pulled up the case right here. So I mean, not the case, but this is a case I just saw. But I just put Fannie Willis rapper. I'm gonna end this right after this, but we'll explore together. Pause. But rapper Georgia DA Fannie Willis says rappers' lyrics will continue to be used in criminal case. A news conference Monday shared a message to alleged gang members. I have some legal advice. Don't confess to crime on rap lyrics if you don't want them to be used, or at least get out of my county. Fulton District Attorney Fannie Willis defended of use of rap lyrics in criminal case Monday after the office released an indictment targeting alleged gang members of what she said is a violent street gang connected to a string of home invasions in Atlanta. Let me make sure that this is the rapper. Oh yeah. Her comments came after her office used similar evidence. I'm sorry. In an indictment on January 1st against Atlanta rapper Young Thug, born Jeffrey Williams, and more than a dozen others who are accused of various charges, such as gang activity, along with drug and firearm. Let me just see if I find anything regarding Young Thug. Well, actually, I'll do that another time. Like that way I could really look into it. But Young Thug is the rapper. But supposedly, whatever Young Thug group is a part of had beef with another group of Atlanta jerk-offs, and that the other group of Atlanta assholes had a member within a hitter who was called Big Nut, and that she supposedly had hooked up with that Big Nut guy. That was the word on the street, I guess, which is a big no-no. I mean, if you're prosecuting Young Thug for lyrics, which I got to look into that, because, I mean, if she did go after him based on his lyrics, then she's pretty much going after, like, which is basically a bunch of he said, she said, or not even he said, she said. If you're going after somebody because of their lyrics, you're basically saying, oh, well, what you did say is this. What you intended to say was that. What you meant to say was this. So that could be the basis of the Trump case in Georgia as it relates to Georgia and that RICO case. Well, like, you were attempting to do this, and Trump meant this when he spoke to Schellenberger, or this other guy was trying to switch votes here, or whatever have you. So, I mean, again, I haven't looked at the nature of the case or whether the case is a steadfast one or not, because like all these other cases, they seem to be a lot of bullshit. I just look out the window and see if there's anything to them, and I forget about them. I'm not in tune with them like that. The only thing really monumental that came out of this case was the fact that Trump took a mugshot. That's it. It begins and ends there. And did that did that take down Trump since then? I mean, I started reporting around that time a little bit more frequently, and it seems like the case for Trump has been riveting up more positively, especially amongst Black and Spanish people. I mean, literally, like right before that, I would go on to panels and like get attacked for my perspective just because I was mentioning that my vote was going to be rendered in the direction of Trump. Now I think the tenor has changed quite significantly. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing or bad thing. I'm just saying that, lawfare could be applied, and lawfare specifically right now is being applied to the front runner of the presidential election coming up in 2024. With that, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Guys, I hope you comment, when you do come through and chat and talk with me, it gets boring. Otherwise, I mean, it's not that boring, but I'd rather, volley back and forth ideas. With that, if you guys please like, subscribe. I never asked for that, but I'm going to start asking for it more because I would like to get my numbers up, and I want to come back here regularly, do bigger things too. I want to do more field work. Dom Lucre, somebody who I follow on Twitter right now, is doing a story on the scene regarding the synagogue tunnels that I covered a couple weeks ago. And that's work that I would like to be doing. But honestly, straight up, not saying I'm like looking for bread or anything like that, but for me to go into New York to do a story like just the tolls, damn, I wish I could show you guys. If I could, like, because you could see the skyline from my house, but it's not like Manhattan, New York, Brooklyn. All these places are far from me. They're really not. Like if I go right now into to my old neighborhood in Brooklyn, it'll take me like a half hour, even though I live in New Jersey. The problem is that to go into New Jersey and to come back to New Jersey, I mean, to go into New York and come back to New Jersey nowadays, I mean, you're talking $60 trip damn near. So I mean, I would love to do stories on the migrants because I know where they go to and where they rest at. I would love to do a story on the synagogue in Crown Heights. I'd be all over that, trust me. But one, it's cold, and two, it's really expensive for me to do that. But should I get my numbers up in the future, I mean, like, of course, I'd be doing that a lot more frequently. But if I'm happen to be in New York, then I'll do more New York centric stories. But the thing is, too, when I do go into New York nowadays, I go and see my mom. That's a bunch of time I got to waste. I mean, not waste. I mean, bunch of time I got to spend there. I go see my main crimey Sophie. I spar with my main crimey now too, which so all these things take time. And I got to drop my wife off at her friend's house, and her friends all got their own shit going on. I can't leave her there for 12 hours or some shit while I do like 4 or 5 things in New York. It's just too much. But I would love to do New York stories. I have a story already. I have tons of stuff lined up. Stuff stuff that I haven't seen anybody do, like stuff within the crack houses that I want to do. Gang stuff that I would like to do. Stuff from the underworld that I would like to do. That I pretty much don't have to make much effort to try to get real legit interviews. Not my perspective. I want to have people in the field and on the scene talking about these kind of things. But I'm not gonna, throw down a bunch of money to do those kind of stories in New York unless I have to go into New York at this current juncture. If I get my numbers up, I'll do that shit at will. I mean, all the time. Like if I can make YouTube something that I could do more regularly, or then not more regularly, like that I see more engagement behind, like then I would definitely do those things more frequently. But I will eventually, no matter what, and I do got to start going into New York regularly now because I haven't told you guys, but I'm also gonna start going back to school in March, Lord willing. I actually just got accepted today. I just gotta do my class or pick classes and shit. But so that's exciting in a sense. But I'm gonna go to school in New York, in Brooklyn. So once that happens, maybe I could do some of those kind of little stories too. But I'm not, gonna set out from New Jersey to go into Brooklyn to do a story, right now, unless there's something really salacious. But say that to say, like and subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a good night. With that, I'm out. Peace.